Have you ever been drawn to someone who seems cold, distant, but somehow magnetic? You chase their love. You wait for their attention. And deep down, you wonder, why do I keep repeating this pattern? Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists in history, believed it's not just about them, it's about you and what you're projecting from deep within. In this video, we'll explore why you're attracted to emotionally unavailable people through the powerful lens of Jungian psychology. Why are we drawn to people who can't love us back? Why does the emotionally unavailable person, cold, distant, mysterious, feel so addictive? Carl Jung had an answer, and it begins with something he called projection. In Jungian psychology, projection is when we unconsciously cast parts of ourselves, feelings, memories, even unmet needs onto someone else. It's like a movie projector in your mind, beaming your inner world onto the screen of another person. And here's the twist. The stronger the emotional charge, the more likely you're projecting. Think about it. That intense attraction to someone you barely know, that gut feeling that they're the one, that might not be love. It might be your psyche seeing something it has lost or never had in them. Let's break this down. Imagine you had a parent who was emotionally distant. Maybe they were physically present but emotionally cold. Maybe they gave love unpredictably, one day warm, the next indifferent. As a child, you didn't just experience that pain. You internalized it. You learned to chase love, to earn affection, to find validation in someone else's approval. Fast forward to adulthood. Your psyche is still searching for resolution. It wants to complete the pattern. So when you meet someone who reminds your unconscious of that original wound, aloof, inconsistent, hard to read, you feel drawn to them. But it's not really about them. Jung would say, you're not seeing the person as they truly are. You're seeing a symbol, a mirror of your own inner wound, and that mirror becomes magnetic. This is projection. You project your unmet needs onto a partner who can't meet them. You see hope in someone who gives you just enough to keep you attached, but never enough to make you feel secure. Jung wrote, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. That's not just about conflict, it's also about attraction. Sometimes we fall in love with someone who reflects back the parts of ourselves we've forgotten, rejected, or are desperately seeking. The emotionally unavailable person might represent your own hidden belief that you're unworthy of consistent love. And so the cycle continues, not because you're broken, but because your unconscious is asking you to wake up. Projection isn't evil. It's not manipulation. It's how the psyche tries to find wholeness. But here's the truth. What you're chasing in someone else is actually a call to find something within yourself. Until you recognize the projection, you will keep handing your worth, your love, your power to someone who doesn't know what to do with it. Carl Jung didn't just want us to understand the psyche, he wanted us to reclaim it, to take back what we project piece by piece and bring it home. That's how healing begins. Now that we've uncovered the power of projection, the next question is deeper. Where does this projection come from? Why does our unconscious choose certain people to attach to? To answer that, we must meet someone often forgotten in our healing journey. The inner child. Carl Jung didn't use the term inner child as much as later psychologists did, but the idea was very much alive in his work. He called it the child archetype, a symbol of our original self, full of potential, vulnerability, and hope. But what happens when that child doesn't get what it needs? Imagine yourself at 5 years old. All you wanted was to be seen, to be held, to know you were safe and loved, not for what you did, but simply for who you were. Now imagine a parent who was addicted, angry, or emotionally overwhelmed. Not because they were evil often, they were just repeating their own wounds. But to a child, that lack of emotional safety feels like rejection. That pain doesn't disappear with time. It becomes part of your core story. Jung believed that if these early wounds aren't brought into the light, they stay buried in the unconscious and silently control our adult lives. So when you fall for someone who is emotionally unavailable, it's not an accident. That person is a trigger. Not in a bad one, but in a revelatory one. They awaken your abandoned inner child. The child who still believes, if I can just earn this person's love, I'll finally be enough. If I can make them stay, I'll prove I'm not unlovable. If I can get them to change, maybe I can rewrite my past. But love is not supposed to be a proving ground. It's not your job to fix someone who mirrors your deepest fear. It's your job to recognize the fear. Hold that inner child with compassion and tell them what no one ever did. You don't have to chase love anymore. You don't have to earn it. You are worthy of it, just as you are. Jung believed that healing happens when the conscious mind integrates to the unconscious. When we face our shadows, meet our wounds, and stop projecting them outward. And the inner child is one of the most powerful and tender parts of that unconscious world. When you begin to connect with your inner child, you stop blaming others for your pain and start nurturing the part of you that never got what it needed. This is the turning point. You stop choosing partners based on old trauma patterns and start choosing from a place of self-awareness and wholeness. And that's not just psychology, that's transformation. Carl Jung believed that deep inside every human being lives an unconscious image of the other, the opposite sex, the opposite energy, the missing half of the soul. He called this the anima in men and the animus in women. These aren't just romantic fantasies. They're inner blueprints, emotional imprints shaped by our earliest experiences with the opposite sex. And often they're wounded. Let's start with the anima, the inner feminine figure in a man's psyche. If a boy grows up with a mother who is cold, critical, or emotionally chaotic, his anima becomes distorted. As he grows, he may unconsciously seek out women who reflect that same chaos, longing to finally fix what went wrong. Or he may become emotionally shut down himself, rejecting the feminine within. Now let's look at the animus, the masculine figure in a woman's psyche. If a girl grows up with a father who is distant, controlling, or absent, her animus becomes shaped by those experiences. She may then be drawn to men who are emotionally unavailable, not because she truly loves them, but because her unconscious believes that is what love feels like. But here's the painful truth. What we seek in the outer world is often what's missing from our inner one. When your anima or animus is wounded, you project it outward. You fall in love not with a real person, but with a psychic image, a fantasy your unconscious has dressed in someone else's face. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But that transformation can be painful if you don't know who's really reacting, your conscious self or your unconscious projections." The emotionally unavailable partner may seem powerful, mysterious, alluring, but what if that's just your own inner masculine or feminine energy, exiled and disowned, trying to get your attention? What if you're chasing the animus in a man or the anima in a woman when really those figures are already living inside you, waiting to be healed? The goal isn't to find someone to complete you. The goal is to become whole within yourself, to reclaim your inner masculine, the part of you that provides, protects, and leads, to reconnect with your inner feminine, the part that feels, nurtures, and loves. This integration is the foundation of individuation, Jung's term for psychological and spiritual wholeness. When you begin to embody the anima and animus within, the people you are attracted to will change. You'll no longer seek completion in others, because you'll carry it within yourself. And from that place of wholeness, love stops being a wound you're trying to heal and becomes a truth you're finally ready to live. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep ending up with the same kind of person? Why do I repeat the same toxic patterns even when I know better? You're not alone. And it's not because you're weak, broken, or unlucky. Carl Jung believed that what we don't heal, we recreate. This is what psychologists today call repetition, compulsion, the unconscious urge to relive a familiar pain until we finally confront and transform it. But Jung saw this even more deeply. He said these painful cycles come from a part of us we rarely want to face, the shadow. The shadow is everything in us that we reject, deny, or suppress. It's the part of us that says, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve consistent love. I need to chase someone to feel valuable. It's not just darkness. It's every feeling, belief, or memory we've hidden away because once it was too painful to face. When that shadow remains unconscious, it doesn't disappear. It leaks into our lives, especially our relationships. And here's the trap. The more we repress it, the more we're drawn to people who embody it. Let's say your shadow believes love must be earned. You may feel magnetically pulled to someone who withholds affection so you can earn it and prove your worth. Or if your shadow holds anger, shame, or fear from childhood, you might subconsciously pick partners who awaken those same feelings so you can finally win the love you never got. But this never works because you're not healing. You're replaying over and over until you realize the person you're chasing is not the solution. They are the symptom, and this is where Jung offers us a way out. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." In other words, real healing isn't about pretending to be happy or attracting perfect people. It's about meeting your shadow with honesty, compassion, and courage. When you become aware of your unconscious patterns, you stop being ruled by them. You stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as a message. Every emotionally unavailable partner, every repeated heartbreak, every toxic cycle, it's not a failure. It's a mirror, a teacher. Your psyche is not trying to destroy you. It's trying to wake you up. And that wake-up call begins with reclaiming the parts of you you've abandoned, the parts that still hurt, the parts that still believe they're unworthy of love. Because once you bring the shadow into the light, it stops controlling you. It stops choosing for you, and you begin to love not from your wound, but from your wholeness. So now you see the pattern. You understand the projection. You've met the inner child. You've seen the wounded, Anima or Animus. You've faced the shadow. But the real question is, how do you break free? Carl Jung believed healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about making whole what was split. And that journey begins within step 1. Make the unconscious conscious. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That means you must become radically honest with yourself. Start by noticing your patterns. Who are you attracted to and why? What does love feel like to you? Is it warm, safe, grounded, or anxious, uncertain, like you're always waiting to be chosen? Journaling is powerful here. Ask yourself, what do I believe I have to do to be loved? What childhood experiences shape that belief? When do I feel triggered in relationships, and what does that remind me of? Awareness is the first act of rebellion against the unconscious. Step 2. Reparent the inner child. Next, turn inward, the emotionally unavailable person you're chasing. That's often a reflection of the inner parent you never had. So now you must become that parent to yourself. When fear rises, speak gently to the little one inside you. "I'm here now. You don't have to earn love anymore. You are enough." This is more than affirmation. This is integration. Every time you choose to soothe instead of chase, to stay present instead of abandon yourself, you rewire the story. Step 3, do shadow work. Shadow work isn't about blaming yourself. It's about welcoming the parts you were taught to reject. The anger, the neediness, the longing, the fear. These are not flaws, they are messages. Each one holds a key to your freedom. You can do this through therapy, deep journaling, meditation, dream work. Anything that helps you see your darkness without shame. Because once you stop running from your shadow, you stop needing others to carry it for you. Step 4, redefine love. Finally, you must redefine what love is. Love is not chasing, love is not begging, love is not anxiety dressed as passion. Real love feels safe, open, consistent, and you cannot receive that kind of love until you believe you deserve it. Jung's work was never about staying in the past. It was about using the past to awaken to your wholeness. You are not here to repeat old stories. You are here to transform them. The moment you stop looking outward to fill the void is the moment you return to yourself. And from that place, you'll attract not what your wound desires, but what your soul truly needs. Carl Jung taught that real healing begins within. You don't need to chase love. You need to awaken it from within. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to Psyche Awakened for more videos on Jung, healing, and self-mastery. Your journey has already begun.